Okay, so the quiz will start again at 6:15, and so it'll be a 30-minute quiz, and it is very much like the other one, except you don't have any binary stuff. You don't have to convert these numbers, so it shouldn't take you as long, and it should be a little easier quiz, and so you should do a little bit better. This quiz, like the last one, has several questions that are you have to you have to type something in, okay, as an answer, and so those that you have to fill in the line or lines uh, cannot be graded by a computer. I mean, apparently, Cengage thinks it can, okay, but you have to put down every possible answer. The problem about filling in the lines is, you might put a capital letter, where I had said the answer had a little letter, or there might be three answers. You may not answer them in the same order, So basically, there's going to be 18 points. Fill in the lines that the computer's pretty much going to give you a zero on again. You might hit it. You might accidentally hit the right, exactly the way I typed it in. However, those had to be graded by hand. So whenever you finish the quiz today, you'll have a grade again. But bear in mind that grade's highly probable 18 points lower than up to 18 points lower than it's going to be. Okay. Now there's a couple of questions on the quiz having to do with Excel, and I left them in there because I'm going to give you the answer to those two questions. And Excel is what we're going to start talking about next week. Excel is going to be the basis for our third assignment. And Excel is the first skill that I feel like you probably don't know a whole lot about. And so we're going to spend a little time on Excel. And so I'm just going to start tonight, okay, for a short amount of time, talking about Excel. Now listen to me, because you'll hear the answer to two questions at least, okay, here. So here is what Excel looks like when you bring it up. I don't know how much experience you've had with Excel, but I'm going to assume you don't have much, and that it's going to be more difficult for you to do this Excel. That's also going to be true on Access. We do databases. So, the last part of this course, we actually get into the skills part more deeply, than at the beginning. And so here is, well, Excel is a spreadsheet. It's basically used for doing various types of accounting. Now, you may not be an accountant, okay? You don't care anything about accounting, but actually, Excel and spreadsheets are used by far more people than just accountants. In fact, a lot of people use it. Just anybody in business might use it. Anytime you have to do any figuring, Excel sheets come in handy. So this is what an Excel spreadsheet looks like. Now, like any other piece of business software, it's got a lot of tabs here and a lot of stuff. It looks, a lot of things you can do. But of course, the main part is the spreadsheet itself. And the spreadsheet is just a two-dimensional array. And you think of it as a matrix, or you think of it as a table. And it's full of cells, okay? So what I just clicked on was a cell. This is one of the cells in the spreadsheet. Now each cell in the spreadsheet can contain some data. And so it's the arrangement of this data into these cells that's important. Now it's best to just look at this by example. Let's suppose that you have a company, And I suppose this company has got, you're selling stuff in this company. It's a retail company. Let's say you've got 3 stores, okay? Then you might pick 3 of these columns, okay? And let's say right here, I'm going to pick this cell here. Now this cell is called cell C3. As you'll notice, these cells are aligned in rows and columns. The rows are numbered, okay? And the columns have letters. How many rows and columns are there? Well, a lot. That's a lot. Used to be 256 rows. But now in Office 10 and with Excel 2010, there's more. There's a lot. There's a lot of rows, lots of columns. So don't worry about running out of rows and columns. You're going to have more than you can use. And of course, the numbers go 1, 2, 3, 4, keep going. The letters, once they run out of letters in the alphabet, they go down here to Z, and then they go A, B, A, C, A, D, and they go through the alphabet again, except with an A in front, okay? Then they go through the alphabet again with a B in front. And then they go through the alphabet again with a C in front. Okay? So, there's plenty of columns. So I had to pick, but let's say C3, okay? I'm just going to type in there store 1. This is going to be the heading for store 1. Store 1, okay? And hit enter. And go over to the next column. Store 2. Store 3. And let's say each one of these stores sells certain items, okay? Let's say your business that, has several items that you sell. Let's say there are 5 items that you sell. And what you want to do with this particular spreadsheet is you're keeping track of sales. That's maybe your job, okay? You work in the main office, and your job is to keep track of all the sales of all the items at all the stores. Okay? And so you've got 5 items and 3 stores, so you got to keep track of 15 different things. And now you can put if you left click, that selects a cell. Okay? But I'm on the left click, and I'm going to hold it down, and I'll move the cursor over all of it. Now I'm holding the left button down. Now I'm letting go. That then selects these 15 cells. And I want to go up here, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to hit all borders, click. So, they just make borders for me. Now move this outside the blue area and left click it, and the blue goes away. So that's just a way of sort of making your table stand out. Now let's suppose we have data on how much of item 1 was sold by store 1 and store 2 and store 3. So we're just going to put in some numbers here. Oops, nope. Sorry. Click. I'm going to type in 5 and enter, and 34, enter, 52, enter, and 61, enter, 33. I'm going to go back up, over. I'm going to type in here 8, 31, 32, 14. Okay? So I've populated this with numbers. Okay. Now, each cell can contain data, and this data can be of different data types. So we're familiar with different data types, and the default is called the general data type. The general data type means that Excel doesn't know too much about this data. But there's this little box up here, and it says general, and you can click on that, and these are all the different data types that you can put into a cell. Uh, it can be a number, okay? This will be stored like an integer. It can actually be a currency. This will come with a dollar sign. Okay? It can be an accounting. It can be a short date, a long date, time. It can be percent, fraction, scientific, or just text. Now, I'm going to go to this cell here, press down on the left button, hold it down, and I'm going to pick those three cells there. This would be C3, D3, and E3. And I'm going up here where this says General. I'm going to click on that, move down, and click Text. So these three cells are holding text, okay, just like character data. Same thing down here. I'm going to put the left button down. I'm down. This is going to be text. So actually, these are really like headings, okay? But in the middle here, put the left arrow down, hold it down, all the way across here. And I'm going to say, these are going to be numbers, right? And notice when I made numbers out of them, I put 2 zeros afterwards, okay? Now, see this, you can increase the number of zeros if you wish, or you can decrease the number of zeros. I mean, if these are really integers, you don't need any zeros at all, yeah? And you go out here and you click and the blue goes away. Yeah. So now I've entered a table, okay? I've used this as a spreadsheet to put in a table. And in the cells C3, D3, and E3, I've got text. That just says, in this column here, I've got the figures for store 1, here store 2, here store 3. In row 4, I've got the 3 values for atom 1, each of the 3. So store 1 sold 5 of atom 1, store 2 sold 8 of atom 1, store 3 sold 12 of atom 1. Now, suppose I want to total all this up here. Okay? How much of all items total did store 1 sell? I can click on that. I can mark all that and make one extra cell. And I come over here and see the summation here. I can click there. It adds all up for me. Okay. Easier, I could do this. Click down, over, down, down, down. Okay. Get this summation here. It adds all 3 of them at one time. See? So altogether, in my whole company, we sold 185 items of all different types. Okay. Store 2 sold 140 items. Store 3 sold 243. So altogether, for my whole company, we sold 568 items altogether of the total sales of everything. Now, if I want to know how many of item 1 we sold, click over here. Now, here, if you just go down this little arrow here, instead of clicking this, if you click this here, it gives you a pull-down menu. You can get the sum of all those, or you can get the average of them, or the count, or the max and the min. There's a lot of different, things. You don't have to just get the sum. Well, now, in my entire business, we sold 25 of item 1, 78 of item 2, 129 of item 3, okay, and so forth. Okay? And so that's sort of the thing we're going to do. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to use Excel to do a little bit of financial stuff on your company. So what we're going to do in assignment number 3 is we're going to look up the stock price of our company every day. From September the 25th, up to the present, again. We're going to get stock prices, again. And we're going to plot them, okay, and we're going to analyze them, okay. And then we're going to use the cloud. We're going to use the cloud. And we're going to use something called Dropbox, okay. And everybody's going to put their data, okay, in Dropbox. So we'll all have access to everybody's data, okay. And then we can, do an application, or we get to do a database, okay. We'll use, comparisons to one another. Okay, so that's about all I want to say about Excel for the present here. But in my little talk here, though, I gave you some fundamental information about Excel, and so you should be able to answer a couple of questions on the quiz. Now, the quiz covers software, and let's just review briefly what we covered about software. I talked about software engineering. Did anybody listen to any of those tapes of my lectures? No. You did? Well, good, because some of the stuff comes from my lectures, and not much, but a little bit. Okay. Like I said, I covered more history than's in the book, okay? Because I think history is a good way of if you understand the history of something. It's you kind of you appreciate why it got to be that way a little bit more somehow. Anyway, I talked about software engineering. I talked about the steps that we go through to design software. I don't think there's any questions on that. Well, it's not up there yet. The problem is there's a little delay, okay? I have to basically load it to a server, okay? And then the staff takes a little while to do it because they have to compress it, and then they have to add features to it, okay? So I'm sorry it's not up there quite yet. At least it wasn't the last time I looked, okay? And so I should have told you that there's a little bit of a delay. And, that's too bad. I'm sorry. But it would be useful to have it up because you're still doing that assignment, I guess. Well, I have to apologize for that. Tuesday's lecture. Yeah. Okay. I talked about computer programming and computer languages, okay? What languages did we talk about? Fortran, Pascal. What was Pascal? Yeah, teaching language that computer science professors liked. Actually, they sort of pushed it dead now, dead as a doornail. Long forgotten. COBOL. COBOL's a business language, still used today. COBOL's still an important language today. And nobody teaches it in computer science anymore. And even in business school, they don't teach it too much. So that's caused a little bit of problem for business. Businesses have these legacy systems, really important, really big COBOL applications. they're having a hard time finding people that can, know COBOL and can keep those systems, because they need people. You always need people to keep. You in fact, they're really good jobs if you say you want to go be a computer programmer for one of these IBM mainframes. Nobody knows that anymore. It's a really, you know, it's easy to get a job if you know that stuff. Okay, and so it's kind of strange, to learn something that's sort of out of style, and boom, you got a good job. I talked a little bit about the application programming interface, not a lot though. Talked about acquiring software off the shelf. I mentioned the shrink wrap license. Talked about custom design software a little bit. Cloud computing, I talked about. Um, Software licenses. Talked about freeware. I talked about open source software. What's the difference between freeware and open source software? Right. You've been studying. You've really been studying. You know all the answers, right? Yeah, exactly right. When something's free and when they say software is free, they could mean the source code is free, which means you can compile it yourself. Since you have the source code, you have really all the information before you that they use to create the software, and you can change it, modify it, make it better. And, freeware usually means the not that the source code is free, but that the running code, the executable code, is free. I mentioned the Open Software Foundation, but it's the main open source software uh, organization. It's a small group. It used to be kind of big. I really think they're having their problems nowadays. Not as many people believe that software should be free anymore. Software is a big business now, right? And it drives the computer business. But anyway, this Open Software Foundation, and this is the logo here for the Open Software Foundation. And these are some of the products that the Open Software Foundation has developed. Okay, um, GIMP. You heard of Photoshop? Well, a lot of people spend time learning Photoshop, right? Well, GIMP is sort of a free competitor, an open software competitor of Photoshop. And so Photoshop's expensive. So if you want to do Photoshop type stuff, but you don't have the money to go out and buy Photoshop, you can download GIMP, you know, and run GIMP. But you got to learn GIMP just like you have to learn Photoshop. Both of them take a little learning. And in both GIMP and Photoshop, you can do animated pictures. You've probably seen those animated pictures. Right? They're available on the internet. Well, the way you create them is with Photoshop or with GIMP, and there's a lot of them available that are created both ways. In fact, if you go to the internet and you look up GIF, Here's just some animated GIFs. Okay, you can actually, put these on your web page, right? Some of them are free. You just want to stick them on your web page. Some of them you have to pay money for. But a lot of these are made with GIMP. Oh, here. I talked about the Creative Commons license. In system software, I kind of skipped over the boot process. I spent a lot of time on operating systems, though, right? And we talked about a bunch of different operating systems. What did we talk about? Hmm? Linux. We talked about Windows, of course, Microsoft Windows and Mac OS and Linux. And we talked about some historical operating systems. We talked about one from big MIT project back in the 60s. What was that called? Multi. We talked about multi, okay? And we kind of saw the evolution of operating systems, okay? So we made a list of what all an operating system does, okay? What does it do? What's the main thing an operating system does? I guess from a computer manager's point of view. We think of it mainly as being scheduling. It schedules all the jobs on the computer and decides who gets the computer, first, second, third, and any priorities that people have over one another, all handled by the operating system. The user interface is another thing that's handled by the operating system. File management, the operating system has to manage all the files on the computer. It has to, it doesn't let the users actually mess with the files themselves. It requires the users to ask it to do it for them. Because that way it guarantees that no one user gets in other people's files, they all behave themselves and play the game right. So we talked about Windows, Mac OS, Linux. I skipped over this virtual machine software. There's nothing on the test about that. I didn't go into mobile much. Okay. However, we did mention some mobile operating systems, right? What's the one for Android? I didn't talk about industrial ones, embedded ones. What? Yeah. Well, don't worry about it. It's not on the test. um, kind of skipped over that. I skipped over application software because we've gone through it. We will go through it. Okay. Word processing. Okay. Presentation already done. We're about to do spreadsheets, and later we're going to do database. Okay. I didn't do that. Then on the internet, we just kind of got started on the internet. Um, I talked about internet technologies. We got down, we did not yet cover web technologies or web applications. And I'll be doing that next week. But we did talk about the internet backbone, how the backbone got started, what's the backbone today. We talked about TCP/IP. What's TCP/IP? Transfer or transmission. So try. I think transfer is the actual transfer control protocol. I think is the real name. And then the internet protocol. And talk briefly about what it is the internet protocol does, and what is it the transfer control protocol does. Okay? And about packet switching, right? Talked about internet service providers, client server. I kind of skipped over peer-to-peer. We haven't talked about any of this yet, okay? And so none of that's on the quiz, okay? Kind of got started on the internet. Okay. Well, it's about 6 minutes before the quiz starts. Here's a little issue, okay? There's not many slides in this issue. I'm talking about, I've said at the beginning, this course covers concepts, issues, and skills, okay? So the concepts are hardware, software, stuff like that. Skills are things like, uh, PowerPoint, and um, database access, okay, and like that. And then the issues are things that have come up because of the computer. I'm only talking about one issue so far, and that was intellectual property. This one is about digital to life. And it's a little short one. I can cover it easily in 5 minutes. And what digital life is as a social issue is the fact that, computers and technology sort of just permeate our life, nowadays. Uh, One of the judges of the Supreme Court's over at Rice University having a seminar over there, Judge Roberts, and he said one of the biggest problems the Supreme Court has right now is dealing with technology because technology changes everything. I mean, for instance, what is invasion of privacy? Well, certainly wiretapping is clearly an invasion of technology. But what about seeing through the wall of a room? Is that an invasion of technology? And this brings up all kind of problems, okay, that they didn't have before. So this digital life caused by ubiquitous. What does the word ubiquitous mean? If something is ubiquitous, everywhere, right? Everywhere. Ubiquitous computing is a culture where digital technologies are embedded in the environment. I mean, everywhere. There's cameras everywhere now, right? Up in the ceiling here are wireless, receivers, okay, or your computer, okay, you're on a wireless network everywhere. So it brings matters of etiquette up. I love this picture here. See, they're on a date, right? He's taking her out to this nice restaurant, and now he's talking on the phone to somebody else, right? And he keeps talking and keeps talking and keeps talking. I mean, I don't think she's happy about this, right? And so that's something. It is rude, I mean, if you're talking a lot, right? No wonder she's not happy. Of course, this distracted driving that's been talked about a lot, right? I know a lot of people who work at home now. All this technology has allowed people to do their work at home. These people are software developers. They can work at home just as well as at the office. You know, they're just as accessible in their home as they're in the office. Okay? And as long as they get their work done, that's fine. Okay, and that saves gas. That saves time. Last year, when they had uh, the Arab Spring and all these uh, unrest in the Middle East, those were basically caused by flash mob people. They do something bad. They put some people in jail. Or break up a crowd, or put some tear gas or something. Immediately, everybody's got it on their phones. Texting everybody, getting everybody upset, and it also makes things very hard for politicians. Like I listened to the presidential debates. They said a lot of things that were just wrong. you know, they came up with these facts that weren't facts. Right? Said things happened that didn't. Right? And it's really hard. Politicians can't get away with that now. Because the minute they do, suddenly everybody's tweeting. You know, and the next day, there's all these articles in the paper and everything. He was wrong. He was right. His facts were better than his facts. Right? So it's made a big difference. All this. I'm going to quit there. See, so it's about time for the quiz to start. So whenever it becomes available, you can start. Remember, you only get one chance on this quiz. Okay, you'll only see one question at a time. You have to get your answer, and you have to say save answer. Do all that before you leave that question because you can never come back to it. Okay? And and then at the very end, okay, be sure to submit your quiz. Okay.